shall we get cracking?
I think we should.
And we'll talk through. So yeah, like I said, any questions as we go, let us know, and yeah, we'll go through everything. So our first topic is why.
Oh, we put 10p in the graphics machine.
So kind of this is where we always start when we're putting together a strategy, and yeah, as a kind of marketing team, for example, you need to have the sort of why for the campaign specifically, but then I think you also need to really understand the broader why for the company. So, you know, for example, there's no point trying to increase sales in a company that doesn't have the operational capacity to deliver it, because you're just going to upset everybody. So yeah, I think that's a really good place to start. So having your own kind of why behind, as a marketing department, or as, you know, there's a real range of people in the room at the moment. You know, there's owners, there's marketeers, there's sort of senior ops people. So yeah, I suppose it depends on. So the way I always look at kind of the why is, because I own the business, I have as an owner, I have a kind of goal or a why.
Yeah.
As a MD, I have a goal or a why, and then the individual departments, sort of, you know, not actually massively explicitly, but I suppose we kind of do, don't we?
Yeah, and I guess it almost all ties together into like the overall objective of the company.
Yeah. So there's no point if your objective is, you know, one thing in the marketing department, that the owner's looking for something different from the company. So trying to understand what that looks like and how your objective with the video strategy actually works is, you know, quite important overall. So yeah, so that's thinking about your why and where that sits.
Yeah, because I guess it's almost a case of you don't want to be making video for video's sake. You know, you want to make sure it's actually, I guess, serving a purpose for the company as a whole, rather than just going, we want a video because we think it will look cool. Actually having some objectives that you want to get out of, whether that's, again, thinking of obviously a lot of people we know are in the care sector, whether that is we want to boost occupancy, or you want to get, I don't know, people who we support up, or whether it's recruitment is another bit where I think a lot of people maybe don't necessarily think about video in that sense.
Yeah.
Is using video for recruitment, is just, yeah, having a thought of that before really going into it.
And I think, like, when you say, for example, make video for recruitment, I, especially in our recruitment process at 5 on a Bike, have a very different way of approaching with video. It's a much more personal, less highly produced format of video for a lot of that stage, because it's not, you know, video isn't cheap, you know, to make well. It isn't cheap and it isn't easy. So you want to be able to apply lots of different types of video across your different processes. So for example, in recruitment, you might have a nice shiny top end video, but then as you get into it, it becomes more and more informal, to the point where you might be creating bespoke one-to-one on your phone videos with for someone to send to them on WhatsApp. So you've got a real kind of personal connection with them in that aspect. So, and that all sort of, you know, tickles back to why you're doing it. If you're trying to get more people in, or you know, whatever it is, and so yeah, why does that cover it? Why?
Yeah. So I think that's the sort of the first question I think you've got to answer, I guess, is if you're thinking about doing video, is top level, why are we doing it? What's the outcome basically?
And where does it fit in with the bigger picture for the company? So,
Should we get another
graphics,
10p pence in the graphics?
the graphics machine. So the next section is the viewer. So once you've identified why you're doing it, why you're making video as the marketing department, even if you're the MD, I think you think about it as the marketing department at that point in time. Who's your viewer? So identifying the target audience is a really important part of it. Who they are and what motivates them, because ultimately that kind of then sets the second layer of the structure for the whole campaign. So if I suppose and a question I had for you, Chris, was what would be the difference if you're sort of targeting a 20-year-old person that's buying a jumper versus a B2B budget holder? What's some core differences in terms of those viewers?
I mean, I think the main thing is definitely the tone of the video. If you're trying to attract that 20-year-old who's spends half the day on Instagram or TikTok, you're going to want lots of little videos rather than one big video. And yeah, the tone as well, I think it's just more casual. I think if anything, you don't want to go formal. If you're especially if you're selling a product, you don't want to go too formal. People don't want to sound, you don't want it to sound too, I don't know, salesy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're going to B2B, you're selling to somebody who, you know, just wants the information. There is where you do want it to be slick. You want it to be very sort of, here's the information, no fluff around it, and just straight in there. And obviously, also just the other thing is the format of the video. If it's a video that's going to go on your website, and it's again for that B2B audience, 2-3 minutes, nice sort of what we call widescreen, so you'll see that sort of that shape video.
I suppose that's how you're watching it now.
As you're watching now, yeah, exactly. But if you're trying to attract a younger audience, you'll probably want that size, you know, the vertical video, because you can be watching it on your phone. And I think I've heard one term which I quite like, and it's this idea of, with certain videos, is you don't want it to be too polished, but you need to get it across in a sort of, you've still got all the info, but it's not as polished.
Yeah. I think, you know, as you've seen over the past maybe 3 to 5 years, probably more like 3 years, with the advent of TikTok, where informal feeling content is now become the norm, but a lot of informal content is produced properly and then made to feel and look informal. So I don't know if you've ever Googled, you probably haven't Googled this, but I have, holidays for kids, and then suddenly your whole feed is full of like these kind of influencer style videos that are like, I went for a day out with my kids at this place. And the video, you can see it's produced, like they've used proper cameras, they've used proper sliders, they've used, you know,
they've planned out.
It's all been planned out. But then the way they present it is, it's like that person that shot it on their phone. So it's very interesting that different. And, you know, and we're talking to a brand that's reaching to students at the moment, and we've suggested that all the content we make them should be fairly informal and feel less direct and more about kind of, because it's just much more likely to engage that audience.
And I think it just, what a lot of people say is that it kind of feels more genuine. That's because it's, you know, I think people have got in their head, if it's too polished and it feels really prepared, it's not genuine, it's not real, it's not that sort of instant, I've just decided to get a camera. You say, with the holiday example, where it's just, here's my experience. Yeah. I'm not the company talking to you, I'm a person experiencing what the company's doing. Yeah,
but there's still quite a lot of production put into that. And that technique can be used by brands to, you know, make content that feels more watchable. But I suppose the core question for this section is, do you know your customer profiles? You know, and you can go to nth extreme on this and have multiple page documents on each person, really, really detailed. Fundamentally, you know, again, I suppose it depends on your overall role. As someone who's, say, like an MD, you might have an instinctive understanding. I don't think it would hurt to write that down, even if it's just a paragraph. So you say, look, you know, this is one audience set we're targeting, this is 2 audience set we're targeting, this is 3. It might just be one audience set, and the more refined that is, the better. So the more refined the audience. And I think you get this thing where when you're doing ads on, say, like Facebook or Instagram, where you select your audience and you say, okay, well, I want my age range to be this, and I want them to be in this industry, and it gives you this indication about whether it's too broad or too specific. And I think that's again a good way of thinking about it. If you want it to be that sort of, if it's super, super, super specific, it's in some ways a bit easier because you can like identify the single person you want to talk to, but then also, you know, having a sort of slightly wider audience. So yeah, identify your.
I mean, I know in the past what we've done is you almost create a person, give them a name, give them a job, give them an age, give them 2.5 kids, how much the average is these days.
I think it's like 1.6 now.
I know, wasn't it 2.4 at some point?
It was 2.4, yeah, in the 90s, yeah.
It's literally create a person, essentially, that who's either your ideal customer or your average customer, who, depending on who you're targeting, and build out. I don't want to say build them a life, but you know what I mean.
I've seen companies that like print out, like get cardboard cutouts of people and put them in their offices.
That's really good. Yeah, give them a name, give them a cardboard cutout. Let them live in the office for a bit. It's fine.
So there you go. That's our advice. But spend all your marketing budget on cardboard cutouts of your customer profiles. Right. So next, another 10p in the graphics budget machine.
There we go.
There we go. Right, platform. So this is another area again where thinking about, and it does, and these all tie into each other quite nicely, and thinking about how that platform ties in. So I'll throw this one to you, Chris. Like, how does the choice of platform dictate the format and the style of the videos that we would make?
Yeah, and as you say, it very much goes from who's your viewer into who's the platform. What platform do you want to go on to? So that can be, as you say, what we've got: LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, good old-fashioned Facebook.
Yeah.
And
still a quite, a sleeping giant in there.
I think people underestimate the power of Facebook. Whether for good or for bad, people underestimate the power of Facebook. They do
underestimate it, yeah.
But yeah, I think once you've identified your viewer, so you've gone through the why, that you've identified your viewer, so your target person, you've got to understand where that person's living digitally. So where are they spending most of their time? When they've got their phone open, what are they going to first? So as we've said, that 20-year-old who's looking for outfits, or sometimes a lot of time with recruitment, a lot of time you're trying to recruit people in their late teens, early 20s at the start of their career. Obviously you're going to be wanting to go for Instagram is a big one, TikTok is a big one. Mm-hmm. Whereas, say, again, going back to people we know in the care sector, if you're targeting people in their 40s, 50s who are looking for care, you're probably going to be looking more at Facebook, because that tends to be where they'll spend their time. And I think just making sure that you're thinking about the content at the start, think about where it's going to end up, because it goes back to that idea of, if it's going on Instagram or TikTok, you'll want it to be vertical, you'll want it to be that short video, so you want 20 seconds, 40 seconds.
I mean, and how often have we shot content and then later on found out, oh, this needs to be used for X platform.
Yeah.
And then, it's just not, we've not shot it in a way which lends itself nicely to work well on that platform, because if we'd known that before, we might have slightly framed up the shot differently, and there's technical nuances to how you would do it, in terms of making, because what we want to do is create content that can be used across as many different places as needs. But actually, if all of your focus is on Facebook, you might as well shoot it for the best for that platform, right? You shoot it in that way. So in the campaign for this video, we shot everything in with the idea of it being used as what we call 4x5. So it's that's the size and the shape, and some marketers in here will know what we mean by that, but it's the size and the shape of the video, and LinkedIn 4x5 is the best in terms of fitting the platform best. So we shot it specifically for that, but then we also shot it so we could use it in other places, but we had that as the foremost idea for it.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think obviously, as you say, some bits of content can work across multiple different platforms, because again, you might be targeting some people on Facebook but also on Instagram, where there is that crossover, but you've got to make sure that's planned beforehand. So you say you're not trying to take content that was made for one audience, one platform, and trying to then force it to work on a different platform, because you will get content at the other end of that.
Yeah.
But whether it will be as good and as effective as if you plan up front for that.
Yeah. Especially if you're spending advertising budget on video content, you really want it to be specifically for that platform, or at least if you have that in mind from the beginning, you'll know how to shoot it in the best way to make that work. So I think that probably covers it. Like I said, if there's any questions, pop them in there. Is that? Oh, right, no, that's an example question of that. Thought someone asked the question. Right. So another 10p.
Warm up the graphics. Yeah. Here we go.
There we go. Right, topic. So I think this is so now you've sort of set the foundation. Now you need to start getting creative. And this is the part of the process I enjoy the most. So it's quite interesting that, through the team, we've been having lots of conversations recently about kind of creativity and where we like to be creative, and Chris likes to be creative in a different part of the process that I like to be creative, and Ben, who's behind the camera at the moment, you can't see Ben, but he is there.
He's there. We promise.
In the same way, Jack and Alex, they like to be creative in different ways of the process. So, I guess that the topic is about generating the idea for the campaign. So the topic for this campaign, for this webinar, was the perfect recipe for your marketing video. So how do we go from a blank piece of paper? Where do you start, Chris?
Well, again, I think what you have to do is it's almost tying all the points we've made up until this point. So think about who you're targeting. So why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Start the top.
Yeah.
Why? What's the objective?
Yeah.
Then who is it? Where's it going? And I think that's where you need to start from, because there are some ideas that might be brilliant for a TV advert.
Yeah.
But it would be terrible if you put it on TikTok, because it just wouldn't work.
It's just not going to work in the same way.
So I think definitely start there.
So you can have all that information on your piece of paper, and then it's like, okay, where'd you go from that bit? And so for this campaign, we brainstormed as a group, didn't we? We sat down together and sort of said, like, what is it that we're trying to get? We talked about different sort of things that link kind of video production to the ultimate message that we were trying to put over, and then sort of flushed out. And I think brainstorming is not. Yeah, it's a pretty sort of normal thing to do in a company, isn't it? But I think that's often the way to start. I think
sometimes when people put the word brainstorming on it, I think it sounds a bit more intense than it is. It's basically a lot of time we'll just sit around a table and just chat and throw out ideas and see what sticks.
This one was actually in the pub, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had a meeting. I can't remember. We were sort of dropping some stuff off at the office, and then we went to the pub over the road, and Jack was not there, so we called Jack in on the laptop, and we sat in the pub, and I think you had a Guinness Zero, or was that Ben that had a Guinness Zero?
I had an actual drink because it was my birthday, because I know how to spend my birthday.
So you have it. Make sure it's someone's birthday, just so they're really enjoying themselves. And then we just threw around some ideas, and ultimately, and I think there is the kind of in the creative process there comes a point where someone who's leading the project, and I suppose from this project, I was probably what we might call the creative lead on it. Someone has to just go, yes, cool, okay, let's go with that idea, because then it's quite difficult. And we've got an idea for the next campaign that we're going to do, and I think Jack is going to lead that, because he's had the sort of core of the idea. So I think you do need like a creative lead, but then that person needs to listen and try to include everybody that's involved in the process. You sort of can't if you go off at a bit of a tangent. So
and I think a lot of time you almost have to start at what's your USP. What is the thing that sells you, basically. Whether that's something like we've been doing some creative where it was about a care home where they're really keen on the things you might not expect in a care home, the activities, the places they go, and that was the thing they really sort of like, I don't want to say specialise in, but they really highlight.
Yeah.
So we worked from there and almost worked backwards and go, okay, that's what you really want to sell. That's what makes you unique. How do we, I guess, highlight that and showcase that in the best possible way?
Yeah.
And obviously, depending on what video making, it doesn't have to be completely off the wall, crazy, creative, amazing different angles. Sometimes it's just, we're going to interview these people, put them together, shoot around our sites, that kind of thing, and that still is a very effective bit of content.
Yeah, you don't have to break incredible new ground every time you create content, right? Like, sometimes
you don't want to do that because you don't want it to be distracting. Obviously a lot of the content we create is to inform people, and for that you don't want it to be distracting with whizzy graphics and clever camera angles.
Whizzy graphics, let's go.
Well,
I would say as well, like if you're stuck, change environment. So that if you go out to, can you go out for lunch? Can you go for a walk? Can you go to the pub? Look at what other people are making. Look at different people that maybe not organisations that sell the same thing that you do. Maybe organisations that sell to the same customer base. So, looking at what other people are doing and how they're reaching people, and have a look on different platforms and, scroll around a bit and look at videos and try and look at them in a way and use that to sort of think about, how could we take that theme? A lot of it in sort of coffee shops, there's a lot of kind of quite rich, interesting content that's made. It's quite difficult to sort of keep up, but often if you just go on Instagram for 10 minutes and watch coffee related videos, you'll come up with some funny ideas for your own coffee shop that you can, and then equally you can sort of jump on the trend in that aspect as well. And you see that a lot. It's a thing at LinkedIn at the moment with people using AI to generate characters, which is something that happened like 9 months ago, but it sort of seems to come back around again.
That every time I go on LinkedIn, here's an AI version of me. And again, I know it always seems to be coming back to this, but again, it's so different, the creative, whether you're going for B2B, whether you're going for somebody in their 40s, 50s, whether you're going for somebody in their late teens, 20s.
Yeah.
Could you say for the late teens, 20s, you said you want to be watching what's going out on Instagram and TikTok, because if you can jump on a trend,
why
that's
not?
always good.
It's always going to be good. So, talking about trends, not quite trends, but next thing is graphic machine.
Really?
Is hooks. Right. So, I'll let you start this then, Chris. And we talked about this quite. This is probably the area we talked about the most. And I've got some thoughts about kind of technical hooks and using hooks to grab attention, but then equally, what
I guess the main thing sort of is what is a hook.
Yeah.
I guess the main thing is it's what's meaning that the person who started watching your video finishes watching your video. What's hooking them in? So that can be, it can be a technical thing. It can be lots of fancy whizzy graphics and really nice shots, or it can be simply you're asking a very big question and they want to find out the answer. And I think I'm going to keep going back to this, depending on what platform you're going to, you may want that hook in the first 3 or 4 seconds. If it's going to be an advert, if you haven't been on YouTube and it's got the advert that's playing out and you're watching the counter going 6, 5, 4, you want to make sure in that first 6 seconds, you get it to a point where they're not going to click that skip button. So I think a lot of time the most sort of the most effective ones I've seen have been where they've gone and asked a question that you then want to find out the answer to, or they've performed something, or they've done something, and you want to find out what happens next.
Yeah. So I see a lot of kind of what you might call like remixed hooks, or hooks where there's something pretty extreme happening, which catches your attention, and then it like flicks to an Indian restaurant or something like that, right? So it's like there was one where it's like like a plane, it's like someone those ones where it's like someone flying, and then they fly into the Indian restaurant. And they're like, "Hi, welcome to the Indian restaurant." And it's like, and it's a bit kind of weird and cheesy, but it works as a hook because the thing that's happening at the beginning gets your attention. Or there's one that I see quite often where, say, someone throws a croissant up in the air, and then it freezes above their head, or it starts moving really, really slowly, and then they start talking. So it like gets your attention because it's something unusual. And I think, back in the day, we used to use a thing called cinemagraphs, which was like still image with a moving element.
It's a little bit of movement. Going back to the coffee shop idea, is a thing of coffee on the table and it's just lightly steaming.
Yeah, and it sort of looks like it's not meant to be moving, and it does. And it just gives you a bit more of an opportunity to capture the eye, because there's just so much content out there at the moment that it's difficult to sort of break through. So you need that kind of...
I mean, one I saw that I thought was really effective was an advert for a phone case, which not that exciting, but literally the advert starts and they go, "I've just bought the brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max XL double mocha," and he just throws it off a building, and that happens in the first 3 seconds, and obviously you end up going, "Wait, why has he thrown his new phone off?" And then it shows it obviously hitting the ground. "Oh look, the phone's fine. Buy this case." But that first 3 seconds, rather than just going, "Yeah, this case is really good. It's going to protect your phone if you drop it in the sink," they go to the extreme because it makes you watch and it makes you want to find out what's going to happen next. And again, I don't think every video has to be that extreme.
No, and they'll have lots of different types of content through their whole process, like where they'll have ones that are a bit more technical, a bit more detailed, like in the different areas of, and then they'll have YouTubers review it, and there's a whole infrastructure behind all the different stuff you can do with that. So thinking about how that video starts, most definitely try to avoid it starting with a logo. It's quite often you sort of start with the best bit and then unpack a bit, like I say, a newspaper headline or something like that. Where so it's another 10p in the graphics machine.
Just warm it up and
making a plan. So the key is execution. So without a good plan, an idea is just an idea, and I think that's often what happens is, yeah, and I've probably had personally, probably more ideas for campaigns that I've had hot dinners, right, and then never actually deliver them because ultimately, it's as I say, it's kind of easy to come up with an idea. They're not necessarily easy, but you can have an idea, but unless you actually put something into execution and do it, and I think that's the sort of underrated, kind of quite boring part of it, but that is really important, just to actually say, right, this is what we're going to do, and this is when we're going to do it, or we're going to film it this date, we're going to put it online this date, we're going to have this social go out then, we're going to do it. So, and having that process mapped out, and it doesn't have to be like, an 83-page ridiculous detailed document, it just be the sort of frame. And then sometimes not getting it, in this campaign we miss dates of things, like sometimes this thing's not quite ready to post, so we're going to post it tomorrow. But just using that as a core basis to actually get something across the line, because often sometimes you can get to a point where you've made stuff but then there's no plan to get it out there.
And also I think by planning ahead, and especially by planning like when you're going to post the content and sort of all the different topics, it makes sure that you get the most out of it, because otherwise if you don't plan ahead, you can film, you can edit, you can get it all ready, and then you can go, oh, it'd be really good if we'd have got this bit of content, or it'd be really good if actually the video could have had a bit about this in it, we've missed out this. So if you plan ahead before you even start recording on a camera, you're more likely to actually get what you want out of it.
And because that'll help evoke ideas of like what you said, what different types of stuff you need, and how it's going to do it. So I think the plan is underrated, and have a plan, map out your key deadlines, and make sure you've got all that stuff lined up. I think we talked about the idea of like timing conflicts, like because the company might have concurrent things working as well, or there might be an event you're leading up to, so you want to also try and leave space for other things. So we've, as well as doing this campaign, we've been launching the acquisition we made of Kahoot, and we needed to make sure we didn't clash that content, because if we post the things on the same day, it doesn't work as well. So having a plan for your different campaigns is really important.
And obviously your video content is probably going to be part of a bigger campaign, bigger marketing plan. So having a plan obviously you want to make sure that they're planned so that those two are coordinated and sort of synchronized, so you don't have content going out that's completely different and on a completely different topic to what's you're doing website bits or letters or leaflets or other bits of social media content. You're better off planning that so that everything seems more coordinated.
More cohesive. You don't sort of get in your own way with it. All right, another 10p in the graphics machine.
Here we go.
Bulk. Right, I think it's probably more of an area for you, Chris, like where, bit of protein powder, bit of bulk.
Very good. Well done.
It's got a bit of banter. I just noticed that my dad messaged me before this started and asked for the link to join, and he's not even joined it. Which is nice,
It's nice to know we've got the support of the team.
You're a big fan,
So I think, again, as it does a lot of time, it comes off the back of the plan. So what we mean by bulk is, a lot of time when you're thinking of video, you might be thinking of a video, like a keynote video for your website or something. But as we were saying earlier, these days, especially when you're marketing across so many different platforms, you've got to get the most out of that filming. So by planning ahead, rather than filming one video in a day, you could film 10 videos in a day, 20, 30, 40, I'm not going to say 50, that's probably pushing it way too far. And when we say that, we don't mean everything is a polished, slick video all by itself. It can be as simple as a behind-the-scenes video. One of the things that you love doing is the selfie video, where you're just walking around with your phone in your face.
I mean, I don't love it, but I do it because it's...
Come on.
I do it because it's valuable and easy. Even just using one shot to upgrade a piece of social content. So, for example, if you've got a nice shot of the front of your building and you want to portray a message, use that shot just in the background. And this is stuff that, in theory, any marketeer can do themselves. Like, it's quite simple to sort of get that. It's easier than it's ever been to get that content online, on your phone using whatever piece of software. Most of the social platforms have a function to allow you to edit content, and if you're just doing one shot and you have it in a place that makes it easy for you to get to, so maybe it's a Dropbox folder, or maybe you saved it on your phone or something like that, so it's really easy to get to. So and that's what, 40 clips maximum. 42? Can we do 42?
I'll push to 44.
but no higher. Yeah,
but no, I think, as you say, it can be 10 seconds of a shot of, like I said, if you're marketing in here, it could just be someone doing some latte art.
Yeah,
doesn't have to be anything over the top, but having that little 5-second clip on a social post can be the difference between somebody scrolling past and somebody stopping, looking, and actually reading the post. That just the eye-catching bit. So that can be think of how long that would take to shoot.
Yeah, not very long at all. Yeah,
and it could just be as part of a bigger film day.
Yeah.
So again, I think that goes back to planning. If you have that in mind on the filming day, we can get so much more out of it.
Yeah, and you can know what shots you're looking to get.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So that's covered bulk. Let's next another 10p in the graphics machine. Distribution. So making sure that the audience, that the sort of, you reach your intended audience, and this comes back and it feeds into a lot of the other areas, creating specific cuts for specific platforms, making sure that you post at the right times, you're making sure you're maximizing getting it out there as much as possible. So, there's a load of different ways to do this. So, I suppose the question, once we've made the video, how do we help people make sure they actually get it? Their audience actually see it.
And I think this comes back to plan, is having a plan of how you're getting that out there.
Yeah.
When you're going to be posting, where you're going to be posting. Even just sometimes what we've done in the past for our own marketing is we've had a folder with the text for posts ready to go. So you're not having to every Monday morning, what do I type? What do I actually...
Yeah, do that.
What do I say? Because I think a lot of times we're going to go, right, I know I need to post on LinkedIn a bit more, or wherever you want to post, Facebook. But if you just have a day or so where you are just focusing on, right, here's some good posts we can put out, I think that's so much easier than trying to remember to do that every Monday, every Wednesday. You can get ahead of yourself, so it's not just something that gets in the way all the time. You forget to do it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can have some amazing content, video or otherwise, but if it's not getting out there and nobody's seeing it,
it's not worth anything.
It's not working for you.
It's never gonna generate you any value.
Yeah.
And video isn't generally, if you're doing it properly, isn't a cheap thing to make. So you want to make sure you're squeezing every penny you can out of that production cost and out of that editing cost. And also, one thing we do see a lot is, if you're making content for your organization, trying to get the people in your organization to support the content is really useful. So, like, for example, on LinkedIn, and this will be the same with most platforms, the first hour is important in terms of the sort of tricking the algorithm. Tricking the algorithm into thinking that this is a popular piece of content and getting the people that to share it. And you can't do this every single time you post, right? Because otherwise you'll exhaust your team. But if you've made a particularly high effort piece of content, you really want to get around the team and say, can you give us a like? Don't underestimate how difficult people find it to comment on videos as well, right? It's not an easy thing. A lot of people don't like it if it's not really very obvious. So I think ultimately you can't force people to like your stuff on social media, but you can go and look in the white of the eye and say, do you mind doing this for me? And most people will say, of course. They want to help support the company. So,
and it is one of those things I think a lot of people don't think about, getting staff to like the content, because I kind of see why, because it almost sounds like, well, what's the point? Because we're not marketing to our staff, but it's about, these days, behind every social media platform is an algorithm. And obviously if that algorithm goes, oh, that post has got 10 likes within 5 minutes, that's obviously a good post there. It's more likely to push it out to the rest of your network and to the rest of the community. So one thing I did hear, which is quite a good thing, which is quite a good line, is it's not good if your video gets less likes than you have staff.
Yeah.
So say if you've got 50 staff, but the video only gets 30 likes, you need to give your staff a kick and get them to watch it and like. And I say the commenting is always difficult because you want to say something a bit more insightful than looks good.
Yeah. Well, so on LinkedIn as well, it needs to really be more than 4 words.
Yeah.
For it to be sort of counted as a valid comment. Yeah. And again, nobody really knows the secret sauce to any of this stuff, but it seems it does work, right? And for this campaign, we put a lot of effort into the video we made. So we made sure that the team, like everybody knew when it was going up, that we had ideas spread around for like what you could comment on it. And I even sent the video to specific people in messages and said, can you support this for me to help? Again, you don't want to do that with every single time you post. But if you can, you choose times where you want to get your content out there really well. And then it also does matter, is it good? Yeah. Because bad content doesn't do that well. If it's bland content, and you'll know which of your content is bland and which isn't, right? You could, I'm sure we all know, sometimes, lots of video feed, by the way. Have you got any examples? Some questions. Cannot see you. Someone's having trouble seeing us. Is that Hannah said? The hamster must have stopped turning the wheel.
Oh, good.
Right, okay. I don't know what would
video
be.
feed. Why?
Let's have a look. Tom is in. Tom, as part of our marketing team, is in the background. Does he know whether he can still see us? If I do,
what I'll do, I'm just going to very quickly just head over.
Oh no, we're back. We're back now. Yeah.
Okay.
I could do it. Okay, we're back. Right. Okay. We're back.
I blame it on the rain because it's just started absolutely chucking it. We were talking about it earlier. It's chucking it down that side. I'm blaming the weather.
Yeah. Making the internet wires wet.
Yeah, that's it.
That's how it works. Okay, so I think we covered distribution, and then let's do another 10p.
Actually, another one on distribution is just uploading everything to YouTube.
Yeah.
Even if a lot of the time people upload to YouTube and it only gets 5 likes, but these days, Google, especially because they own YouTube, these days Google is indexing, so it's getting its AI engine to watch your videos. It transcribes it, it listens to what people are saying, listens out for some of the keywords, like I don't know, care in London, and a lot of time it's using those in search results. So even if you don't turn up first page for your website, if your video is seen as a useful video for that topic, it will then come back. And
not many people are doing it, right? So there's a lot of opportunities out there to just make a video about something and label it correctly, and you'll normally make a bit of an impact on it in terms of like that being found by Google. Yeah. And then in AI search results as well, that's a whole sort of different area. And we've done a big campaign recently where we posted a lot of videos online. And kind of big part of the strategy behind it is to be known on AI, for the videos to understand who we are and what we do.
It's like, say if you're supported living, say, just putting a video together, especially if it's a knowledge piece, say, how to choose supported care for a loved one, and post that on YouTube. A lot of times somebody was likely going to be Googling that.
YouTube's what's the second?
It's technically the second biggest search engine.
Instagram's third. Yeah. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's what people search for on Instagram. But you can look into it. And see.
But at least with YouTube, I think because again it's all the Google overlord, it all feeds one into the other. So I think definitely think about that as a platform. Because I think a lot of people think of social media as platforms, but YouTube's still there and it's still a big player.
Right. Second from last 10p's gone in the graphic machine. We got a quid. We got a quid for the graphics machine. That's fine. All right. So second from last section is feedback. So we'll take some questions in a minute as well. If anyone has questions, then we can. If you want to start putting them in the chat now. But feedback. So there's a couple of different ways of looking at feedback. One is production feedback. And in terms of like giving feedback to the production company you're working with, and the other is like making it, putting it online, looking at what does well, using that as feedback for your next campaign or to make adjustments. So do you want to talk a little bit about production feedback?
Yeah, so obviously some bits of video you can make yourself if it's just on your phone or anything like that, but obviously for bigger bits of content, you're going to want to get a video production company like Five on a Bike involved. And to make sure that the content is edited as quickly and as efficiently as possible, feedback is key. Obviously, we'll try and work with you as much as possible to get that content bang on first time, but obviously you'll watch it and you might, because it's your company, you'll know more, you sort of know probably better than we do. With that feedback, what we always suggest is try and get anyone who may be involved, may have a say, get them involved nice and early with that feedback. Because sometimes what we'll have is we'll have a bit of feedback from, say, the marketing person, and we'll get the video really nicely polished, and then they'll talk to the person above them. They'll then have their bits of feedback.
Yeah.
Or there's the other one which we've had a lot of time is the video pretty much gets, we've nailed it. It's perfect. And then the MD will watch it and go, no, not like this. And then we completely have to restart. So I think definitely get them involved.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, you know, if you can get the more senior people, you can get involved early, because often with what we find video is it's like maybe and this is probably more in bigger companies, but, you know, senior leadership isn't necessarily interested until they see it, and then they see it and they're like, why is it like this? And because they didn't know it was happening, or, you know, they didn't see it. And again, that comes back to sort of the why and aligning with the goals and understanding. So that then obviously makes the process take longer, be more complicated, and often you can end up with not as good a result because of sort of committee feedback that you're trying to do. So if you have all those first stages, and then, you know, feedback in terms of testing and adapting, like one thing that we do is when we run campaigns, we sort of download all the metadata from the different platforms, and we use that to kind of help us understand which videos perform well. So which ones have the best view rates, which ones have the best like engagements or clicks and different things, which ones got people to take actions, and we use that data to say, okay, well, out of these 5 videos we made, this one did the best. Why did it do the best? Was it because it got posted at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, or was it because we all liked it? Like, what happened, to understand, so then you can use those techniques going forward for the different videos, or even make adjustments to future videos in your campaign. You only need, once you've posted a few times, you've already got a pretty large amount of data to work with to sort of understand, you know, what works and what doesn't. And often this is, you know, you don't need to download the data, you can see. Yeah, you can see which ones have done well, which ones haven't. So yeah, I think that's a interesting way of looking at it. Right, so, and then just in terms of time, we've got our last section, so the last 10p in the machine. And there we are, right, so call to action. So making sure that the viewer knows what to do next. So, if we send a video about joining a webinar, here's a link to join a webinar. So having a clear call to action. I suppose sometimes there is scenarios where maybe the call to action is a bit less overt, but you should have in your mind what your call to action is, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess obviously again, if people are watching and they work in marketing, the idea of a call to action is nothing new, really. I think pretty much with every type of marketing, you're going to want a call to action out of it, even if it's just like brand awareness, to know the brand a bit more. It doesn't have to be, you say, a really clear cut, go visit our website now and buy this item. It can just be so that somebody gets that knowledge, because you say otherwise, if they don't know what to do after watching the video, again, sometimes brand awareness, that's fine, but you want to be pushing them and pointing them in the right direction.
So talking about call to actions then, the call to action from this video, if you might have seen it pop up down the bit, I think it was actually there the whole time, but ultimately is to book a strategy meeting with me, and it's for 500 quid, one-to-one session, and we'll go through your marketing strategy, or your video marketing strategy for your campaign. So there's a link just there, and if you want to click the link, there's some more details about what's involved in it. But ultimately, hopefully we're giving you all the tools to do it yourself, but if you want a bit of help, then we can spend some time with you and make a nice video marketing strategy for your next campaign, which will be good. And then sort of other things like clearly defining what that sort of funnel looks like through that I think is quite important, isn't it, as well, in terms of call to action.
And obviously with the video, it depends on where the video sits in that funnel. Whether the video is the first time they're going to see your brand, whether it's they know your brand, they've seen you, they've gone to your website, where that sort of call to action is probably going to be a little bit different because they're already engaged with the brand.
Yeah. It's not like, it's not buy now, it might be learn more, if you look at it in the sort of crude terms like that. But, and sometimes you need to be explicit, sometimes you don't. Sometimes there's but if you don't know, as the person that made the video, if you don't know, then you can't necessarily expect your audience to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right, well, unless...
we had some questions as well, I think.
Let's have that.
I think somebody was asking about sort of any examples of care home and nursing videos that we've created. Obviously, it's kind of our bread and butter, really. I guess, obviously, the main one we always recommend, which we've done quite a bit, is your welcome video, which is, you probably have seen them before if you've been onto a lot of care home websites. It's that 2 to 3 minute main sort of like keynote piece where anyone who lands on the web page can click, do interviews with the manager, with some of the staff, the residents, and especially the family members. Family members are key to this because it's the most genuine point of view. Because of course the home manager is going to say the home's lovely, but that's why we always make sure that the family members are involved with that because it gives that real, genuine topic. That I'd say is number one. If you don't have that by now, get on that straight away. But I think you could be a bit more interesting these days. I think, I think we've seen videos where you're talking about a specific topic. You're not just giving an overview of the home as a whole. What's that home really good at? As if it is about the activities, brilliant. Make a video that's all about the activities that you do there, the lifestyle that somebody that lives there can have, the different outings they can go on, the entertainers that you come in. We've seen homes that have done like fairs and fetes in the garden, and we've gone there during the summer. We've captured that. I think making video content about what makes your home unique. So really have a think about what makes your home unique and then build the content around that rather than think of the other way around.
I think stuff that plays locally as well. So most care organisations like care homes, for example, are local, looking to attract a local audience. So is there a way you can use video to connect with local audience? Like local Facebook groups are really good, powerful tools, but the content's got to be right for it. It's got to have the right nuance to it. It can't just be an advert because it just won't reach it. Just nobody will watch it. But is there ways that you can make content to engage with the local community? Is there deals you can do with local businesses that allow you to do these bits and pieces? So I think there's that as well. And then I think thinking about with video for care where they are in the funnel. So like whereabouts, are you just trying to let them know you exist?
Yeah.
Or are they close to booking a visit? Or are they post booking a visit? Are they next step is a contract?
Yeah.
So it depends on where they are in the process as to what type of content you made. So you can make the kind of a whole suite of stuff that follows it all the way through the process from that very first time that they see you to booking. As we know, most care is brought in a rush, quicker than it should be. So having good content that helps that person understand, the first time someone even thinks about care might be the first time that the local authority sends them a link to your website and says this is a care home that your mum could move into. So the content on that should be really good. It should be educational, should be showing the home, should be helping them build trust in you, and ultimately video is a really good tool for building trust, and care is the reason it works so well for care is because a high level of trust is needed because they're handing over the responsibility of a family member to you. So
and we always say that it tells a story that just photos on a website can't, and especially like with take supported living. That is a big it's a big choice to make, and you can have photos of your facilities, of course, because very nice, if they live in houses or in big centres or whatever. But it's so key that I think video content, what it's really key for is getting the personality of a place across and the care and the people that I think it can't be beaten by photos or text or anything like that. I think it really, because especially if you get the residents and the people that you support and family members involved, that sort of personal connection you can get out of video, I don't think you can get out of anything else.
I agree. So Any more questions from the audience?
Yeah, if there's sort of any sort of specific, if you've been trying video yourself and there's bits you've got stuck on, or you're maybe right at the start of the sort of making video timeline that you think you need help with, if there's anything specific, yeah, just post a quick comment.
I suppose if you're here,
yeah,
I can see a few people in the audience that I know are using video now, and I know that have had video in the past. So yeah, if you've got any further questions, stick them in the chat now. But we've covered everything off that we wanted to cover off in our process. So, any other sort of comments and thoughts from you, Chris?
I don't think so. I think what you've got to do is, as we've done here, is don't just go into it thinking we need video because it's 2026. That's what you have to have video. Is work backwards. You've got to work from, as we've done here. Work from why. Why are you making that video in the first place? Because I don't think if you get that.
Yeah, and I think you can chuck in there that like sometimes making a video to say generate more leads, it might actually be what would be better is to make a piece of content that makes, whatever X process happens with the customers that come in, makes that process easier. So like removes a contact point, for example. So is there a way that you can say you get, I don't know, you're a company that gets a high volume of leads, you get 10 a week or something like that you need to deal with. Is there a way to, like, rather than having to directly respond to all 10 of those leads because they're asking questions, is there a way you can say, how do I filter those into good good quality leads that involve my time? So maybe there's a bit of content that can go to that person that helps them pre-qualify themselves and go through that process, so you don't have to sort of manually do every stage of the process that you have to. So thinking about like that as well. And
also it's another thing that I think some people, I don't want to say tend to forget, but they tend not to put too much thought into, is if that video works really well and it points people to your website, make sure your website's in a really good place. Because there's no point having this really polished video that's really engaging, really sort of captures everyone, but the moment they land on your website, it's a website from 10 years ago. They go, doesn't look too good. The content's not quite there. It's looking dated, and they bounce back off again really quickly. So make sure that every part of that funnel, that sales funnel, is as you'd want it to be before you use the video to then attract people to it. Yeah, you need that all to work. It's I suppose in a lot of ways you can see the video as the cherry on the cake, and if the cake tastes like crap, it's not going to matter. It's the cherry on top. And as an organisation now, we recently acquired a marketing agency, so we're now able to sort of offer that whole suite of things, like right from that first strategy all the way through to kind of ultimately, we want to work with people where they're converting someone that watched a video into a customer of the company, in whatever guise that looks like, and helping companies, really connect those things together, because we know it works, and we know video content works really well. It's just a case of like, can we track that whole process through and really have a fundamental impact on whatever it is, number of leads, fewer complaints, more X, less Y, whatever it is that strategy requires. So it doesn't look like we've had any more questions. So I think we can. I've still got to sweep and mop the floors in here before we go. That's true.
We chucked out the person that's tidying up at the end of the shift, and because
she was quite happy because you were like, "It's all right, I'll do all the mopping," and she's like, "Oh, okay, that's great, thanks." She didn't mind. So
after this, I'll go from doing a webinar about video strategy to mopping the floor. So there you go, the glamour of video production sometimes. So thank you everybody for coming along, and like I said, if you want to book the video strategy call, you can just click the link on the screen or just drop me a message, and we'll speak to you soon.